This season, we are to find a problem in our community and work on a solution. Team Kool-Aid Crusaders from Food Branch chose to tackle vandalism.
After speaking with Deputy Mayor Ken Prince and both Lieutenant Williams and Lieutenant Weber at the Mishawaka Police Station, we decided getting kids our age more involved in the community would be a great way to build respect for our hometown. If we respect it, we will most likely not wreck it.
We feel that by adopting a park in our community, it opens up a new way for us to be creative and learn to work as a team. It would help our school spirit and unite our school community when we all get together and make our parks beautiful. It would only cost us our time and effort since the city will provide our materials and jobs to do.
So we got permission from our principal, Mrs. Brandenburg, to allow our school to adopt a park. But why just our school? Why not invite the entire school district? When we contacted Jacob Crawford at the Mishawaka Parks Department and told him what we were thinking, he was so thrilled to hear more schools were interested that he asked to join us at this meeting to give you an idea of what our schools can do for the Mishawaka community. Mr. Crawford?
Not quite that short. I used to be. Thank you. My name is Jake Crawford. I work for the City Mishawaka Parks Department, for those of you that do not know me. I was asked to come tonight to talk just a little bit about our AdoptAPark program and what that looks like. And I wanted to start by just sharing a story. How many people here had Sally Schreiner as a teacher or knew her? A couple hands here. Sally Schreiner was my 4th grade teacher back in 1996 and 1997. Now, it kind of dates me a little bit. But something that she did as part of her class was she used to bring students out to Battelle Park, the Battelle Park Rock Garden, so where the waterfall feature goes down to the river. And we'd work with the park staff, and we'd do leaf cleanup, and then we'd come back in a later date when the weather was nice, and we'd do flower planting. And that's a tradition that stayed with her through her whole teaching career. After she retired, it was picked up by Karen Watson, who still continues that program today. And that's really kind of the big basis of our AdoptAPark program. That was probably the longest running and oldest community involvement, regular involvement from someone that we've had. And we've since grown that program to include a lot of different entities from the community, lots of church groups, different business and community partners. But I think what she did with that program is so profound. There's so many students. I've been working with the schools for the last 10 summers with the Parks Department. And most of the students that come have never planted flowers before. Very, very few of them have done any kind of outdoor landscape work of that capacity. And it opens up a lot of interesting things for the students. It's always fun. It's a very rewarding experience. I think it encourages the students to come back and enjoy the parks. It certainly deters vandalism as well. And so we came here today. I'm excited to work with the robotics group, but I wanted to start a dialogue with this board about trying to get all of our elementary schools involved in a similar capacity, kind of inspired by the work that Sally Schreiner once did through Beager. And so I'm not sure where to start that discussion, but we thought that this would be a good opportunity to, I guess, make our case be heard.
Thank you for the information. We can share this idea with our building principals at the other elementary schools and what the idea behind that is, and we'll see what happens.
Sounds wonderful.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on then to item 2.02, Early College Student of the Month. Mrs. Mann.
Good evening, school board, President Curry, Tonight I'm here to present Leif Wiesman to you. He is one of our star students at Mishawaka High School. He's an early college student, but he is also a dedicated engineering student. Some facts about Leif are that he is going to earn 42 college credits, we think. And he is debating between, he's waiting to hear from some of his schools. His dream school is MIT. And he also has applied to Purdue, so he's thinking about both of those schools. He was a finalist for the Quest Bridge Scholarship, which some of you have heard of. We have another senior who received it this year. This is one of the most prestigious scholarships in the country, and so it's a huge honor for Leif having been a finalist for that. He also is a lifelong Mishawaka student, and he was a student of Mr. Eric Johnson's when he was in elementary school. And when I asked Leif who some of his favorite teachers were, I didn't even have to prompt him. He just said Mr. Johnson was wonderful. He also loves Mr. Marsh and Mr. Haas, two of his teachers at the high school. He is an extremely talented student, and he's very well-rounded. He's been playing the cello for 8 years, and he's the first chair in our orchestra. And then in his free time, he works at the Cinemark Movies 14 with a few of our other students. But mostly I wanted to talk to you about his engineering and robotics work. So if you go to the next slide. So Leif has been part of our robotics program for the last 3 years. During his sophomore year, he was in the robotics club program after school, and then last year and this year, he's been taking the robotics classes that we offer. Last year he was a captain. This year he's a captain. The difference between First Tech Challenge and First Robotics Challenge, it's just levels of competition. The FRC team is a lot more difficult. It requires the students to do a lot more design and then creation of the designs that they come up with, constant troubleshooting and redesigning and recreation of the things that they are trying to do with the challenge presented to them. He's also in the high mileage car class, which some of you are aware of. I'm not sure what the MPG is this year, but it's usually above 600 miles per gallon that they get out of these cars, and he's the head of the steering team. When I was talking to Leif about why he loves this so much, he said it's that he loves the theory, but it's the applied theory part of it. So he has to have a deep knowledge of what he's learned, and then he uses CAD to create these things, and then he manufactures them, and then he troubleshoots them, and then he goes back to the drawing board when it doesn't work, and he really likes that iterative process. So he's very engineering minded, and I think he is very, very creative too. So those are some of the things that make him such a fabulous student. All of his teachers, when I said, who do you think would be great to nominate from our industrial tech department, they all came up with his name at the top of their list. So we are really, really proud of him and happy to be able to present such a great student to you guys.
This is always a very humbling section of the agenda. Congratulations, Leif. Those remarkable achievements. Best wishes to you next year. Moving on to item 2.03, job well done. Mrs. Steph.
Good evening. Tonight we get to recognize John Hummer. He's the business teacher and head baseball coach at Mishawaka High School, and he is here with us tonight. No, you can wait a minute, but yeah, he's here. We didn't play very well, sorry. No, but he's here with his wife and his kids as well, so he has his family with him.
So John has been with us for 15 years. 13 of those is as a business teacher and 2 as a program assistant. And then he's also been the head baseball coach for 15 years, but he's also been coaching.
And he's very diligent in everything that he does, whether it's classes, prep, or baseball. He loves to brag about his players that he's had over the years for their great attitudes and commitment to the baseball program. And also just brag about any of his students that are doing well in his class. And he had made a statement too that I thought would be nice to share. He's thankful for all the coaches, fans, administrators, athletic directors, players, and most importantly, family who have supported him and the baseball program since being the head baseball coach at Mishawaka. And of course, it's always fun to learn things about our colleagues. So some fun facts about John. He's been married to Cynthia for 13 years, even though she says she's married to baseball. So, and I'm sure if anyone's ever a spouse of a coach, you totally understand what she's saying. So they have 2 boys, Johnny, who's 10, and Matthew's 8, and they are both here with us tonight. And he enjoys baseball. That's good since he's the coach. But playing softball, playing games and fishing with his boys, spending time with family, playing cards with friends, having fun in Isla Morada, I think so, right, during Christmas break. Yeah. Spending time with his host family. Thank you. Spending time with his host family in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and traveling to places. His favorite shows are anything sports related, Curse of Oak Island, and anything interesting on history, science, travel, or National Geographic Channel. And he had Mr. Caldroni for business law in his first year teaching at Marion, where John watched many episodes of Unsolved Mysteries. So I do feel like there's probably a really good story here if anyone would like to share. Yeah, so it's it is always fun doing this because you do learn some fun connections and and even like with his wife, they've been married 13 years. We had shared they've been married 19, but he knew things were really got going in their relationship when she called in sick from work because of eating a bad hot dog, so she could attend a sectional game. So you got something good going when they call in sick for you. So. But one of John's colleagues also added that he goes out of his way to make sure he has a connection with his students and his players. That may be one of his greatest strengths, connecting with the people he is instructing and working with. And so I know a lot of people who met John, he's one of the most humble people. He's got great integrity and has such a positive impact on so many students in the classroom and on the field and stuff. So that's why tonight we get to say job well done. So we have this for you. Oh, and we also have a gift card for Buffalo Wild Wings for you. I heard that you might like that place. So. If you'd like to say something, you're welcome to.
Just thank you very much for giving me this award. I know probably the best award I can get is always a paycheck every 2 weeks. To be recognized for the diligent work, the hard work, the extra time, especially to be able to be a head baseball coach and a teacher in Mishawaka is a very honorable thing. So just thanks for everyone, great leaders and guidance from Mr. Caldroni, Mr. Ross, Mr. Faulkner, Mr. Hufford, Ms. Parks for helping with the home run club and our baseball program, and everybody that's been supportive of me, and Mr. Barker, thank you. And thank you for our leadership of our school district. Thanks to Jen. So I can go on and on, but this is very humbling. So thank you, everyone.
Another fun fact about John is that he was my accounting teacher in high school. And would like to know that he's such a good accounting teacher that I ended up getting my CPA and working at Crow. So I really enjoyed your class in high school, and I think that you're a fabulous teacher, and I'm so glad that you got this.
Thank you very much.
All right, that actually ends the recognition section of the agenda. If there are people here who came specifically for that, and we'll pause for a moment in order to make an orderly leave.
They don't have to go, they could stay.
Well, yeah, the best is yet to come, so. All right, now we move into comments and questions from the floor. Item 3.01, representatives of the PTA. Is there anyone here from the PTA to address the board? If not, item 3.02, representatives of school employees. Item 3.03, representatives of the Mishawaka Education Foundation.
Short but very important message we want to bring tonight. Monday, February 10th, which is right around the corner, is the deadline for the grants for the winter cycle. So for teachers, for others who know teachers, please remind them. The Education Foundation has given out thousands and thousands of dollars for all kinds of different things, and their grant cycles is one of the most important things that they do. So please get your applications in by the deadline, which is Monday at 3:30.
Right, thank you. Item 3.04, general public. Mr. Strawn has signed up to address the board.
Thank you, President Curry, Superintendent Barker, members of the school board. I'll skip my normal boilerplate and get right into the script here this evening. The following questions, comments, and suggestions relative to the agenda tonight. Item 4.04, the overnight extended student trip request. Suggestion that you may wish to consider is Ms. Sauer, Mr. Rendell, and Mr. Parker Norris might want to undertake a tasking relative to the MHS engineering trip scheduled for 19 and 20 April this year at Speedway, Indiana. This would be another golden opportunity to produce and subsequently post to the Mishawaka network a high-quality student-produced video showcasing the talents of MHS engineering students and their work product at this competition. Likewise, I offer the same recommendation to apply to Mr. Marsh's trip to Lafayette for the semi-state robotics competition. Item 6.01, the Fine Arts Department. Just a comment here. If you haven't done so already, please review the School City Facebook page for examples of high school scholastic arts competition winners. It is refreshing to see more high school students interested in displaying their talents in three-dimensional art by the normal two-dimensional portrait and landscape winners that have dominated the competition over the last several years. And both mediums were modes of expression were very impressive, whether it's 3D or 2D. Item 8.01, out-of-district enrollment recommendation for the 2020-2021 school year. Two questions here. Miranda did a really good job on the PowerPoint. Is it a correct statement that the recommended quantity shown at each grade level is a not-to-exceed amount? The second question, PowerPoint slide number 9 in the presentation shows the future target class size for the various elementary grade level ranges. And what are the current class sizes for each of these stated grade level ranges? Item 8.02 and 03, both having to do with purchase of new servers. Two questions, same for both items. What is the funding source for each of these proposed transactions? And the second question is, who is performing the installation and testing of these new servers? If an outside source is performing installation and testing services, then what is the estimated cost of such services? Item 9.02, approval of tonight's resolution 2020-004 for the purchase of real estate located at 1052, 1054 Lincoln East here in Mishawaka. Question number 1, it's my understanding that the School City of Mishawaka is legally obligated under state law to pay the relocation cost of the existing tenants of 1052, 1054 Lincoln Way East. The state law places a not to exceed dollar amount on such relocation cost. Question 2, does state law speak to the reasonableness and allowability of such relocation costs? Question 3, from what funding source will the relocation costs be paid? Question 4, is there a statutory time frame within which a claim for relocation costs must be filed with School City? And lastly, question 5, what is the funding source from which the relocation cost will be paid? And question for Mr. Barker this evening. Actually, I've got two of them. The second membership count date for the 2019-2020 school year was Monday, February 3rd, 2020. What was School City's spring ADM count number, and how does it compare to the fall ADM number? And question 2, when do you expect to receive School City's annual performance report from the Indiana DOE, and when do you expect to publish that document? General observation, all relative to Miranda's PowerPoint here later in the agenda. Slide 12 of that PowerPoint presentation contains 3 valuable pieces of information, 2 good and 1 potentially not so good. First, the good news. 299 out of 404 available slots were taken by other district students for a fill rate of 74%. And the conclusion there being that the demand from all potential sources for School City public education services continues to be strong. Second, the 1,135 district students bring in approximately $7.1 million of state aid to the corporation, and I apologize for my lack of precision. Google was not cooperating with me this afternoon. I couldn't get a dollar amount per student, so I just used $6,300 times the 1,135. And third, dividing the non-resident student count of 1,135 on slide 12 by the Indiana DOE ADM fall count for School City, which I included in that fall count the pre-K number, but I excluded that elusive grade 12 plus adult, which I've never been able to understand. You do the division there, you'll see that it works out to 0.2137. Therefore, slightly more than 1 out of 5 current School City students reside out of district. If this out-of-district trend continues, it may adversely impact the corporation's ability to raise future long-term debt via public referendum regardless of the worthiness of the stated reason. That concludes my remarks for this evening, Mr. President. Thank you for your time and attention.
And thank you, Mr. Strawn.
Can I just make a comment? David, when we're talking about the ADM, and I saw your question before the meeting and was talking with Alex, and I remember when, probably 5.5 years ago, when we first began to open the door to attract out-of-district students, and the desire was to try and increase our count by 100 students a year, which was aggressive. And we held that for a little bit, but it's trailed off. And my question to Alex, and he couldn't answer me because he's got to go back and research it, is that I'm betting that the out-of-district count went up and it's probably plateaued. So I can't believe that the trend will continue to accelerate like it has in the past. But again, I don't have the data. Okay.
All right, that takes us to the consent agenda. Item 4.01, approval of the minutes of the January 22nd, 2020 regular meeting of the Board of School Trustees. It is recommended that the minutes of the January 22nd, 2020 regular meeting of the Board of School Trustees be approved as presented.
Move for approval.
Not yet. We're gonna bundle them all together.
Oh, you are.
All at once. We'll save that for you, John.
I was just going to say ditto.
Okay. Item 4.02, approval of bill warrants and payroll. It is recommended that the bill warrants and payroll in the amount of $2,833,439.08 be approved for payment from the appropriate funds. Item 4.03, a corrected 2020 support staff pay increases, and there's an opportunity. Mr. Newman, would you like to give the background on this?
Sure. So on the January 8th board meeting, the school board approved 2020 pay increases for support staff. There was an oversight on my part in regard to the hourly rate for truancy officers. The original document that we included at the January 8th meeting included a pay rate of $21 an hour. The desired pay rate for truancy officers is $21 an hour. There's no other changes made with this agenda item. And just for everybody's awareness, our truancy officers at Mishawaka High School and John Young Middle School are actually off-duty police officers. So they receive an hourly rate. They don't receive any benefits or anything else. So it's well worth the cost.
All right, thank you for clarifying that. And the recommended action is a recommended approval of the revised 2020 pay rates for support staff, as explained by Mr. Newman. Item 4.04, overnight and extended student trip requests. It's recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the overnight extended student trips as presented. Those include a MHS engineering trip on April 19th and 20th to the mileage competition at Raceway Park in Indianapolis. Also senior Mishawaka High School students to Muncie Convention Center on February 11th for an Indiana Parks and Recreation Conference presentation sponsored by Mr. Crawford back there. And Mishawaka High School robotics team to Lafayette on February 28th, 29th for the semi-state championship competition sponsored by Kyle Marsh. Item 4.05, approval of the consent agenda. It is recommended that the Board of School Trustees approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
That's been moved.
It's been moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. There's nothing under the Vision Initiative section of the agenda. That takes us to the reports and discussion items. 6.01, Fine Arts Department, Mr. Brown.
Good evening, President Curry, Mr. Barker, members of the board. It's been just over 7 months since I accepted my position as coordinator of fine arts for the school district, and I'm long overdue to give a presentation. So I wanted to just give an update on everything that's been going on over the last 7 months, things I've been involved in projects. Before I do that, I just want to specifically thank several people who have helped me in this transition. Mr. Calderoni, Mr. Barker, Ms. Hickle, Mr. Ross, all have been really instrumental in helping me make it this transition and what it means to be an administrator. So thank you all. With that being said, I just want to jump right in here. First of all, just a few initial goals that I had as the fine arts coordinator. Obviously, just want to establish some positive relationships with students, parents, teachers, administration. I also really wanted to help we had several new fine arts teachers at the high school, new orchestra director, drama, new choir director, as well as new accompanists. So I was really focusing on helping them getting settled in. And I'm beginning to establish new fine arts groups and expand and improve all 4 areas, drama, dance, art, and music. And of course, just wanting to lead by example. I'm thankful that I'm still able to teach one class, our chamber choir. Really helps me stay connected and set lead by example. And just FYI, I've been reading books on learning what it means to be an administrator, and this one by Jonathan has been specifically helpful, who had a long career as a college of, the dean of the College of Fine Arts in Oklahoma. Jumping right into what's been going on though, we've had a lot of upgrades to the MHS Auditorium. Phase 1 is essentially complete. We have a new digital sound system with 16 wireless mics. It is a tremendous improvement to the sound quality. I've had several teachers, parents, students just really praised the new technology, long overdue and much needed. And now we have plenty of mics to go around for the students and not dealing with static or anything like that during our shows. Phase 2 is about to start. That's a new projector and auxiliary sound system being installed. And then phase 3, we're about to get the quote for the LED lighting system and hope to have that project started by the end of the school year. That system has really helped us get a lot of success, particularly our show choir in the fall. I know that many of you were there for that. It was a great night for our students. Again, that sound system was so key. When you're singing over a 25-piece jazz band, it's difficult if you don't have the right technology. That group was just a delight to work with last fall. I forget how much our students love to dance. They really just love to move. And in this day and age, our students will try anything. And I was really proud of our guys, particularly 10 guys up there, unashamed, just dancing their guts out. And it was just a really great moment. So we're hoping to continue to build that program next year. We've had some recent improvements as well backstage in the auditorium. So we had a backstage cleanup crew. I got some dads together with Mr. Chamberlain, and we built some things, and we grunted and had power drills. It was great. But we also had our thespian club out with Mr. Gardner, our new drama director. And yeah, backstage has always been a real difficult place to keep tidy, but we're doing our best. And Mr. Chamberlain's really taking the lead on that and doing a great job, working really hard. Also, that led into our first play, The Clue, which was, I think, another tremendous success. I was so proud of the consistency across the board from our students. Each performance, nobody really forgot a line, and it was just a really solid performance. Our new drama director, Mr. Gardner, the students are just really thriving with. They really connect with him. We had 80 students come out just for the interest meeting for the fall play, and we can only cast a handful of that. So we're really thankful for the momentum Mr. Gardner is bringing to the program. Also, what's going on backstage? We had a castle building day. You've got Coach Cheklinski out there to stop playing basketball for a moment and painting the castle wall, and a group of parents and students, and we had a lot of fun doing that. That led to our new magical dinner castle. So there you have it. This is an old event that I wanted to bring back last year. It was something that was a tradition that was kind of far away about 10 years ago, and I loved it. It's a medieval feast. The kids get to dress up, and they sing historic music, and then you get to have a nice meal. We will be advertising that much more prominently in the years forward. Now we've kind of got it figured out. Other things that have been going on, we updated our Vespers music and pictures. It was time to definitely switch out some of the songs. So we've been doing some of the same old songs for years and years. So I brought in a lot of new music this year, as well as boosting up the orchestra. That was one of the biggest compliments I got out of that, was the sound of the orchestra. It's just much more full. And the students, I think, were pleased too, because they had more pieces to play along with. And I also added some new pictures to that concert as well. We're really trying to increase our community presence. Our chamber choir in the top left there, they even stood in the flower section of Myers and sang some Christmas songs, and it was a lot of fun. And Myers gave us a $500 gift card just for doing that little gig. So I was really thankful to them. And we also went to Barnes & Noble, where they gave us a proceed of the sale for the day. And being in the mall, particularly during the Christmas season, that was kind of an eye-opener for me. Like, that's just a great place to get out in the community. So we'll be doing a lot more of that. The jazz band also has been doing the South Bend Jazz Festival. Show choir toured all the elementary schools, and we're hoping to do more festivals and such with that group. We literally are improving the quality of the programs, so the way they look. We're so thankful. Lynn Howard is incredibly talented on staff here. She designed all of these program covers, and you can just look at them and they're just beautiful. The one right there at the choir, she took a picture of one of the girls' dresses and used that as the backdrop. So that kind of creativity is just awesome. And another one, too, the Vespers there, really proud of that. That's an actual shot of the stained glass window from Vespers that she used for the cover. And I'll be frank with you, I had a niece of mine who came home, and she's was visiting and had a college program that she had done, and she showed me the program. I was like, oh, well, that's nice, but we are doing quality that's even beyond the college level in terms of just a presentation. So again, thanks to Lynn Howard for that. Something new that you may not be aware of, we have a new color guard group that started by Mr. Diller. So Mr. Diller is our new orchestra director, and at the beginning of the year, he said to me, you guys have a color guard group? And I said, no. And he said, well, I would like to start one. And I did not see that coming, I'll tell you that, from the orchestra director. And I was very pleased. He's got experience in that. He's got about 12 students together right now starting this group, and they will be performing next Tuesday at the boys basketball game during halftime, if you want to check them out. We used to have this program during our marching band, but that kind of died away, so we're looking to bring it back. And so we were hoping to incorporate that in marching band next year to really look really nice on the field. Speaking of marching band, I thought they really upped their game this year. Obviously, we had that great day for the military salute. We had the flag out with the choir singing the guard. They did get a gold in the contest they participated in. And they've upped their game with the pep band, the booster club that has now started feeding the students, because a lot of them won't go home. They'll just stay, and they need to be fed, and so they're being taken care of by booster parents. We have a unique MHS fundraiser going on. So we are selling mattresses, believe it or not. This is a very common now and very popular fundraiser sale, is to sell mattresses. This company is very professional. They do this all the time. They basically will come into the MHS Commons, set up a showroom, about 30 mattresses, and they're real, genuine sale prices. They're not marked up. It's the same like you would walk into a mattress sales store. And you can buy a mattress. You can get 10% off for your teacher, 10% off for military or police, firemen, etc. And this is great. It's a one-day sale over President's Day weekend. We can raise thousands in just one day. And I did make it, we had a parent meeting where 50 parents showed up to this. They wanted to know about this mattress sale. So a great turnout, but I did make it very clear to them, we have great support from our school board financially, but this particular fundraiser we want to use to help support for special trips. So I'd like to take the choir to New York City, The band is going to continue to go to Disney, and the students can, you can buy a mattress and support a student to go on one of those trips. So if you need a mattress, now's the time. Award-winning art continues. I'm not going to steal Ryan Sargent's thunder. He'll be here in a few more school board meetings and tell you about everything that's going on. But they continue to just really succeed and excel in all that they're doing. I will say for them, I'm able to support them by transporting their art. So I took some pictures to a contest in Goshen and other areas as well. And it just really helps the teachers so they don't have to take that extra time. I'm able to go and take care of that for them. Our John Young Middle School programs are evolving. The band continues to use Bethel College as a stage, just the size and the space of the band at that level now. They need more room. The orchestra is now starting to do more things with the middle school, and I'm really encouraged. Mr. Diller is working hard to recruit more orchestra. We need to boost our numbers there, and he's really doing a good job of that. And I'll be honest, obviously, I started at the high school, so I'm mostly focused on the high school, and that's just kind of natural. But moving forward, I want to spend more time over there to help them with their programs as well, including the elementary. We are updating the music instrument inventory. We've upgraded some of their sound equipment. We're going to start initiating regular team meetings. We had actually a meeting about that this morning, about trying to find a PLC time for them maybe once a month to get together. It would mean a lot to our art teachers and our music teachers. We're also going to analyze their schedules and try to optimize things for next year. And I'll be involved in planning the Summer of Fine Arts School. Here's a pretty big important thing as well. We're going to have a new online ticketing system. So I've been researching this. I went to a conference in Chicago in December and met this company called Vanco. And it's an incredible program. All the software is free. Basically, we can treat it like any online ticket system if you were to buy the tickets at the Morris Theater. You can go in, you can select your seat, reserve it, row, number, and everything, and have it on your phone. You can bring it to the auditorium. We can scan it in, and it's like an electronic ticket. We will still, of course, provide paper tickets that would be required. This system, all of the software is free. There's a 3% fee involved, and we're just going to absorb that cost into the ticket right now, because I think we'll sell more tickets using this kind of system. And it's very simple and an easy win for us. And quite frankly, a lot of area schools are already doing this. We're just kind of getting caught up here on that. And just so you know, coming soon, Shrek The Musical opens Friday, March 13th, 7 p.m. Hope to see you there. We already got a lot of tremendous excitement about that show. We got a solid cast, and we're working really hard. Rehearsals have already started on that several weeks ago. Just a couple more slides. I want to mention this. We had a special visitor at Mishawaka High School, Mr. Taylor Oakey. Taylor is currently on tour with the Broadway version of Bandstand. Just so happens that he had a connection in Bluffton. And we just so happened we have a superintendent who has a connection with Bluffton. And so I was talking with Mr. Parker about this, and I said, hey, could we possibly get him to come out to the high school? He gave him a call, and it worked out that just about 3 hours before he was about to do his show, he came to the high school and gave a presentation to the students. And this is just so key. Our students need to see, inspiring leaders out there who can really give them the motivation and the drive to pursue careers. There are real careers in the arts, believe it or not. And we're trying to convince our students of that, show them how that works. And Taylor was just so helpful in just helping them understand, what does it mean to go to New York City? How do you audition on Broadway? What does that look like? And often, the career of an artist is a winding path. It's difficult, but it was just a great moment. And yeah, it's very helpful. Sorry, that's a lot of information I just threw at you. Thankful ABC gave us this little news story. I think it's true. I hope it's true. That the Mishawaka Fine Arts program is doing. Any comments or questions?
What was the date of the play again? Shrek The Musical?
Shrek, March 13th.
Okay. Friday.
It'll be playing that Saturday and Sunday as well. Sunday night.
Well, thank you for all you do. I mean, you've put in a lot of hard work, and it really shows, and it's really paying dividends. All these programs are just looking great, and you've accomplished so much on so many fronts. I mean, music, dance, art, drama, all of those things. It's I think there might be 3 of you out there. And it's very much appreciated. Thanks for what you're doing for the program and the schools and the students. Item 6.02, December financial report. Mr. Newman.
Thank you, Mr. Curry, members of the board. Start out with the education fund here, and as always, please stop me if you have any questions. Financially, we had a very good year in 2019. Education fund ended with an increased balance of just under $450,000. Revenue pretty much came in right as expected, with the exception of some additional monies and student fees that was collected. Expenditure-wise, salaries was basically right on target. Benefits, we were a little shy of my target in terms of the budget, and that's mainly due to the change with teacher retirement that was made mid-year, so that saved us a good amount of money. But overall, total expenditures, we were at just over 97%, and again, we added to that cash balance just under $450,000. The next 3 pages, those are our debt service funds. Again, just as a reminder, exempt debt service goes away in 2020. It's going to roll into debt service. And then that third debt service fund is our capital operating or capital referendum fund.
Wait.
Yeah, go one more. Nothing really to talk about with the debt service or the debt service funds. We paid the bills according to the amortization schedules. The operations fund, again, the operations fund is where we experience our circuit breaker losses. They weren't as high in 2019 as they will be in 2020, but you can see that top line local property taxes year-to-date collection was 82%. Our actual collections is very good. It's in excess of 98%, so that difference is the circuit breaker losses. So they don't net the circuit breaker losses out on the budget order. So just wanted to point that out. Again, you see the miscellaneous taxes, and then the transfers from the education fund. So again, we transferred $8 million from the education fund into the operations fund in 2019. As I've mentioned, that probably should have been closer to $7 million because we did add to our cash balance in the operations fund of about $1.1 million. And similarly to the education fund, salaries were basically right on target. Benefits, again, we ran a little shy, the turf change. Actually, I take that back. It wouldn't have been due to the turf change in the operations fund. But again, 96.39% of budgeted expenditures, and again, we added to the cash balance. So between the operations fund and the education fund, we added about $1.6 million to our cash balance. And so if we weren't going into 2020 and expecting to experience an increase in circuit breaker losses, again, we would have some money to spend. Unfortunately, we're going to see a loss of revenue in 2020. But again, 19, just like 18 and 17 were very good years financially, mainly due to increased enrollment and the operating referendum fund, which is allowing us to shift expenditures out of the education fund into that fund. I say, go back to the second, the one after I skipped the operating referendum. So I don't want to go back to the referendum operating fund and talk about that for a second. You can see again that top line, local property taxes, our collections over 98%. That is excellent. And then the expenditures, I do want to point this out. It looks like I overexpended the appropriation, but transfers, that $400,000 does not count against the appropriated totals. I really did not overspend that fund. And again, we maintained basically the balance in 19. It looks like it dropped by just over $10,000.
400,000 went to the rainy day fund?
The $400,000 is the transfer to the rainy day fund, and transfers don't count against your appropriation. So the way this shows up, it looks like we overspent that appropriation, but we really didn't.
And the rainy day fund balance is?
Just under $1.3 million now.
Okay.
And that's to help us weather the circuit breaker and the fiscal cliff.
Exactly, yes. So Eric, if you could go forward to the, I think it's the food service fund, or the school lunch fund. So again, we continue to do very well in our school lunch fund, almost too well. Again, we've been contacted by the state. They're monitoring our cash balance. It's getting up there. We've got some equipment that we can purchase, and we gave pretty healthy raises to food service staff in 2020. So again, we're doing very well in food service, and we're building up cash balance that will allow us to purchase some equipment and do some other things. So again, it's always a positive thing because with a lot of schools, that don't do well in their school lunch fund, that puts stress on your education fund or your operations fund. So again, we're doing very well on school lunch. And then textbook rental fund is next. Finally made that transfer from the debt service fund in December, so our year-to-date cash balance jumped up to $237,000. Again, we increased our cash balance in this fund, which is always a positive. So again, state reimbursement this year was $267,000, and then we transferred the $114,000 from debt service in December. Self-insurance fund, we lost a little bit of cash balance in December, but again, we maintained the insurance fund in the black without any infusion of dollars in terms of transfers in 2019. I did want to point out medical premiums, so that top line, if you look at 2019 actual to 2018 actual, it looks like we lost medical premium revenue, which I wanted to look into. That is because I've been lumping in stop-loss reimbursement into that line item. So we had roughly $440,000 worth of stop-loss reimbursement in 18 and only about $51,000 hit in 19. So I just wanted to explain that to board members that no, we don't have less money coming into that fund. It's stop-loss revenue, which is offset because your expenditures were higher. So again, kept this fund in the black, which is a very positive thing.
So our overall experience for self-insurance was better?
Absolutely, in 19 compared to 18 by about $1 million.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Any other questions for Mr. Newman? If not, thank you for the report. Under Human Resources, item 7.01, the personnel report. Mr. Calderon?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Curry, Mr. Barker, board members. It's recommended that the personnel report dated February 5th, 2020 be approved as presented.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the report as presented. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Takes us into the Curriculum, Instruction, and Technology part of the agenda. Item 8.01, out-of-district enrollment recommendation for the 2020-2021 school year. Mrs. Scheiko?
Good evening, everyone. Oh, now look at all you tall people. We gotta put that down. We should have left it down there from when the little ones were up here earlier. It's been a year since we've discussed enrollment for upcoming year for non-resident. So we are back at that point where we're going to start looking at those numbers again for the upcoming school year and our allotted spaces that we have in order to open up our schools and our classrooms to students coming in from outside of our boundaries. So really this is just going to be a whole bunch of facts for you to give you information on how this works. And then we can talk about a couple of things, Mr. Strong, that you had some questions on, and go from there. So, as soon as School City of Mishawaka accepts a transfer student or a student who then lives outside of the School City of Mishawaka boundaries, this student and family become a Mishawaka student and Mishawaka patron. You know, we want to treat all of our students and families the same. Once you're with us, you are with us, and you are our family, and so we always want to make a point of that. That all of our students, no matter where they live, no matter where they're coming in from, they're always going to be treated the same. So we no longer refer to those students as transfer students. They are now Mishawaka students, and we will provide all of the same courtesies and respect to each and every student that we have with us. So Indiana Code 2026-1132 is the code that we follow for non-resident enrollment of students. So the governing board will establish the number of transfer students the school corporation has the capacity to accept in each grade level, and the date by which those requests to transfer into the corporation must be received by the governing body. And then we will also publish the date as well as the number of openings to the corporation website and report those to the IDOE. Again, that is part of code, and those are items that we must do so that the DOE can then publish that across the state on their website that we in fact are accepting those students. So districts must allow students to attend that have a member of the same household and or a parent guardian who is an employee of the school corporation. So those individuals are automatic, and we're going to go ahead and get those placed as quickly as possible. When we have a member of the same household, we want to try to keep those families together as well within one building. So we try to look at these students and their placement immediately. If the number of requests to transfer into the district per grade level exceeds the capacity established, each tenure request must be given an equal chance. This must be done through a random drawing in a public meeting. So it's something that we would hold here at the administrative center. So if we said, oh gosh, I don't know, that we had 25 openings for grade 7 and we received 27 requests for enrollment, we would hold that public drawing, and then the first 25 names to come out with the students, then we would process to accept. I've never seen that happen. Hopefully that will never happen. We want to continue accepting as many students as possible. So a little bit more code. Continued, a student who attended a school within the corporation the previous year may continue to attend school with the corporation in subsequent years. So all those students that are with us this year who are non-resident students, we're just going to roll over to next year, 2021, right with our resident students, without question. We do have to follow Indiana code for any students that we may deny approval of enrollment with us. And so there are 3 areas for that. A student may be denied. And I want to point out that this says may, not shall. So really these are discussions that are had and records that are pulled, and we really do dive deep into these. A student may be denied for 10 or more days of suspension or expulsion. A student may be denied for suspension causing physical injury, drug, or alcohol violations and weapons. And a student may be denied for having a history of excessive unexcused absences. I will also add in that that goes back 12 months. So if we do pull those records, we are allowed to only go back for 12 months with those records and those particular items. And that's the only time frame that we are allowed to look at when we're looking at approving or denying. So upcoming dates. February 5th, today, we are hoping that the board will approve our allotted numbers for 2021 for those applications for out-of-district students. February 10th, this coming Monday, would be the goal to make the 2021 non-resident enrollment request and approve numbers available and online, along with transfer information for prospective parents and students. Along with that, I'm not sure if the board is aware, or our public and families, but we have now made our non-resident enrollment requests and in-district transfer requests digitally submittable through our website, so our parents do not have to make several trips to different locations in order to get all of that paperwork filled out. They can apply for non-resident enrollment with us from the comfort of their own couch at home or their phone on the soccer field with their kiddos when they have a busy life. So we've simplified that for our prospective parents and students coming out to us. February 29th, approved numbers and dates for open enrollment are reported to the IDOE. Typically, they make that available sometime in February for us to announce. It's not available quite yet, so we can check it at the end of February again. March 1st through 31st, applications for in-district transfers will open for 2021 academic year. Now, I know in-district transfers don't really have anything to do with non-resident enrollment requests. However, the reason that I've added that information in is because we will place, if at all possible, our in-district transfers before we open up or look at spaces available at school buildings for non-resident, because those really are current students. We will have siblings that will come in that we want to make sure, again, we're keeping families together within schools. So we'll look to place those students first, if at all possible, and then we'll look at non-resident openings of those students that are coming in for non-resident. So April in-district transfers will be notified by the end of that month of the decision regarding the request for that 2021 school year because they received top priorities. So April, parents, guardians will be notified by mail of the approval or denial status. And we're talking about non-resident requests here. So in April, we're going to make our first contact with those families to let them know if they have been approved or denied with us. And Jen Smith, I think it was, had this great idea to do these welcome, it was all in the meeting. It was Mr. Barker. Anyway, great idea. We are going to use these new congratulations and welcome envelopes for our non-resident families, just to kind of pick up the excitement and increase the excitement in the process for those families that are coming into us new. So we will notify first contact parents in April to let them know if in fact they've been approved or denied. We will stop there and not look at a location at that time. We have found in the past that if we wait a little bit longer before we place those students, we have a better idea of the number of transfers coming in, and we can more easily place with more accuracy in the buildings the students. So in May, then, by the end of the month, non-resident approvals will be notified on the second contact with them, the location of where their students are going for 2021. So we're not just reaching out to those families once and they're thinking, oh, have they forgotten about us? We haven't heard from them. We're making contact twice. We're also giving ourselves the time to do better placement. And so Sarah and I really looked at that and felt as though we could go a little bit later, and Mr. Barker felt the same, that we could do better placement, more accurate placement later on. So a little bit of important information. Additional out-of-district students will be accepted throughout the remainder of the 2021 school year if openings are available in the grade level requested. So what the state does is they force us to get a hard date on the non-resident requests coming in for enrollment with us. So the dates that we will put out will be, hopefully, if all is approved tonight, Monday, February 10th through March 31st. We will look at placing all those students then first. But as long as there are still openings that are there to maintain those grade levels, then we'll go ahead and continue placing the students through the remainder of the 2021 school year. We did open when I was here in September for the remainder of the 1920, so we want to continue through with that if we have openings to stay open the entire 2021 school year if we have those grade level openings. So all new out-of-district registrations will initially be processed here at the Administrative Center. And so I apologize, that should probably say requests, not registrations. We're going to start those requests here, and then enrollment will happen in the buildings. And it will also be the parent responsibility to turn in all enrollment documents to their approved school location. That's all going to be outlined in the letter that's going to go home to parents for that location of where their student will be placed. So Mr. Strong, you asked about the target class sizes. This question comes up every single time we start talking about open enrollment and district transfers. What are those target numbers? They have not changed for these grade levels. Just reiterating what those target numbers look like for our elementary buildings. By no means is this an end-all number that we don't expect to go over every now and again. It's just a target number that we're looking at for a classroom size. Several times we are over and under within this number, but it is kind of an ever-changing class size with enrollment because that changes throughout the year. So those have not changed. So when we are looking at openings for 2021, what we are recommending is for kindergarten that we all have 150 openings. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, the remainder of kindergarten, 100 openings per grade level, which would open 750 spots for our elementary schools in a whole, not by school building, but that is for the overall, all 7 buildings combined together. That would be 750 openings. We're looking at John Young, again, 100 openings for 7th and 8th, so another 200. And then the high school, again, another 100 per grade level. Now I know what you're all thinking. Miranda, have you lost your mind? Why are you giving us such a large number of openings? Where are we going to put 1,350 students? Well, let me tell you, if we have 1,300 students come in, that is going to be a really good problem to have. It's not going to happen. Really, truly, our goal with this, and we've had several discussions on this here at the Ed Center already, our goal is to, again, for 2021, stay open for the entire school year, just like we are now. This is about the students. This is about allowing those kiddos to come to us whenever it is that they need to come to us throughout that school year. And I don't know that I've heard it better said, but Mr. Barker will say it quite often. If that student comes to us at any point in time during the school year and they have a great experience, guess what they're going to do? They're going to stay with us for the next year. So no matter if they come in before that ADM count or they come in after that ADM count, when they have a great experience, they're going to stay with us for that next year. And so we really would like to be open and available to those students whenever it is that they would like to enroll with us. So just to give you a little bit of data from last year so that you can kind of see where we were and how we really truly will not reach those numbers. Our total openings for last year that were approved was 404 openings. We had 299 students approved so far within this school year for non-resident enrollment. So our average non-resident population per grade level is 87 students. If you think about all of the years that we've been doing non-resident open enrollment, to have 87 as an average per grade level, you can see truly that we're never going to reach that 100 that we're putting out there by grade level, but it does allow us to stay open for the school year because we're never going to hit those actual 100 and 150 numbers. Does that make sense? Does anybody have questions on that? I know it's a lot to take in when we're looking at that large of a number of openings to be looking at for the district. Does anybody have questions? Okay, and so just a little bit of info. Currently, as of yesterday, we have 1,135 non-resident students with us. So yes, about that. So it's kind of exciting. And then another little quickie update for the board. Since we met in September to open up for the remainder of the year for non-resident enrollment, we have enrolled 29 more non-resident students. So when we start looking at that full ADM number, it's slowly kind of rolling in now. We will be almost 30 students ahead for the second ADM than we would have been if we would have not reopened for the remainder of the year. So I think that's kind of exciting that we gave almost 30 students a new home within our district, but that also goes towards our count day, which we would not have had if we had not opened on that new. So. Now we're talking about more future with referendum and open enrollment and things like that. Probably going to guide you more to seeing leadership within the district. Those are not items that really I extend into, so you may want to look on the conversation and for these on those topics. So that is all the information that I have for you tonight. We are asking that you give us the approval for those allotted spots so that we can open up for 2021 and give some kiddos a new home and a new school district. So if no one has questions, I'm gonna finish. All right, good.
Well, thank you for a very comprehensive report.
I have a question. When will we discuss marketing?
Marketing?
Marketing.
As a board, we could certainly discuss it as soon as possible. We discuss it here in the office almost every day, but we certainly need to market to students. One of the things I wanted to add, and Miranda, I appreciate your report. In the fall, we made a change to allow open enrollment or to be open beyond that initial count date, which was basically what we had. Part of the reason for that was twofold. We want to be able to help children in our community. And then part of the reason for that also was we were concerned about looking at the drop in enrollment that we would typically see from the fall count to the spring count. Last year, we lost about 112 students from the fall count to the spring count. So a half of a year worth of tuition from that number would have been a loss of about $365,000 in revenue. This year, we're not through the count date. Mr. Strawn referenced that the count date was February 3rd, but there's about a 3-week window to reconcile students between all the school districts. But as of right now, we've seen a loss of only about 30 students. All school districts, for the most part, in the state of Indiana loses students from the fall to the spring, which is probably why the change was made to add revenue to be a component of both counts. So I think we made a good choice back in the fall. We've mitigated what that revenue loss would be, and I think we're helping children. I would say there's a challenge to this because we are truly open. Miranda showed the guidelines that we can use to deny or exclude students And that is truly what we use. We do not cherry pick, we do not skim, which means at times we're taking students who may come here. As before, we did not allow senior students to come. Now we're allowing high school students to come, and if they have good attendance and good behavior, they could be coming to us with very low credits and maybe be a junior or senior. And that will end up hurting our graduation rate. But as important as I think that graduation rate is, I think it's far more important that we help children. And that's a challenge for our schools, and that can happen in all of our buildings, really. But I commend our people in the buildings, because I think it's our job to provide hope to students and to their families. And I think we're doing that by being open and applying those rules the way that we are. So,
I'm going to go back to marketing. I mean, historically, when we opened the door for out-of-district students, we came in with a very aggressive marketing program that was done very well, initially professionally, and a lot of it was done in-house. I know you're talking about it every day, but it would be nice to know what we are doing, or what we will be doing as we work our way through this period.
right. We'll come back to you in an upcoming meeting with an updated marketing plan.
All right, it'll be on the report section of the agenda.
Yes.
Any other questions? In that case, there is a recommendation. It's been placed before the board. Is there a motion on the recommendation?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the recommendation. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 8.02, purchase of new HPE servers. Mr. Mabee.
Okay. Hardware services in conjunction with other IT equipment provide our core services for the district. With an expected 3 to 6 year rotation on our servers, the servers have reached their 6-year time span framework right now. We consider several different brands and features through the different brands, and we've seen the HPE provide DL360s as servicing the needs for School City Mishawaka for the next rotational period for 3 to 6 school years. We went through and obtained 3 quotes with the different prices ranging from $38,918 all the way up to $61,000, with the lowest quote from CDW at $38,918.55. Questions of help? I know that's when, maybe I should have elaborated the core service, but that is everything in the district. These servers run the financial servers, authentication to Wi-Fi, access to basically anything on the computer in the district.
I say it's a no-brainer if we're going to save $30,000 with the highest bid there. So I move for a motion to approve it.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the recommendation. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Mabee. But stay up there, because 8.03, you're going to enlighten us on the purchase of the HPE Nimble SAN.
So, as we just went through the servers, the storage SAN, the storage area network, aka a SAN, actually breaks down components of into a fault-tolerant hard drive for most computers. Most computers, processor, RAM, hard drive. This is a district-level hard drive that these servers actually store their information on, so they sort of go hand in hand. Just like the servers, there's an expected lifespan of 3 to 5 years for the effectiveness of this device. We went through a 4-month process to make sure we got what we really needed and wanted. So looking at the different technologies, the overall IT supportability and scalability, we've selected to purchase the HPE Nimble SAN. And once again, the 3 quotes were gotten, ranging from the prices of $38,612 to $48,563. Once again, with CDW coming in with the lowest quote price at $38,612.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a question. Will you move any of this equipment into a backup role, or are you going to dispose of it?
Our existing Ecologic sand will be moved to a backup roll.
Okay.
So we'll put the new sand in, that will become the backup portion. We try to rotate as and when we can. Obviously, the backups, you don't need that critical factor.
Right. Okay. Sorry.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Mabey. We're moving into business and operations. Item 9.01, update on the Hannah Lindell Children's Museum. Mr. Barker.
Thank you. The School City of Mishawaka Board of School Trustees approved entering into a consultant engagement agreement with SCA Results Advisors to work with the Hannah Lindell Children's Museum's Advisory Board to reimagine their future. On June 26th, Jan 5 presented the preferred future of the museum to the board for consideration. On July 10th, the Board of School Trustees approved the following proposals from the Advisory Board and SCA Results Advisors. And that was to remain in the current location with the Survivor Live House for up to 2 years or less, depending on relocation progress, maintain current level of in-kind access to administrative support, teachers and students for continued business operations, projects and research. School City of Mishawaka to appraise the current collection for determining value for insurance purposes. D, access to museum extracurricular funds for creating education kits and mobile displays, part-time staffing, and other approved expenditures. All approvals by School City of Mishawaka Superintendent. Access to School City of Mishawaka assets as approved by the Superintendent. Provide a liaison during this 2-year transition period, and retain Jan Phi of SCA Advisors for 1 year from School City of Mishawaka funds in which we entered into a monthly retainer with her. Since that time, Jan Phi and the Children's Museum Advisory Board have worked countless hours towards this goal of making the museum independent from School City of Mishawaka. However, there was an unexpected development in mid-December. The Mishawaka Penn Harris Public Library Board of Trustees expressed interest in the contents of the Children's Museum as a donation or for an amount not to exceed $100. Additionally, the Mishawaka Penn Harris Public Library Board of Trustees stated that they would make a good faith effort to accept and relocate the assets of the Children's Museum within 60 days if so desired by the School City of Mishawaka Board of School Trustees. As such, I recommend that we hold a public work session on Monday, February 10th at 6 p.m. for receiving information from Jan 5 of SCA Results Advisors, also from the Children's Museum Advisory Board, the Mishawaka Penn Harris Public Library Board of Trustees, and any other possible interested patrons. Mishawaka Network has told me tonight that they can be here to record that meeting for us. Also, that should give us time to consider the information prior to our next regular public meeting on February 26th to consider that information and possibly make a recommendation regarding the museum.
All right, before we have a motion, because this requires a motion to set a new board meeting, there's something I want to talk about. Some of you are aware, for quite a few years, my law firm has represented the Mishawaka Penn Harris Public Library, and under a fixed annual retainer agreement for which we provide miscellaneous legal services. I learned about during the last couple of years. My partner Joel Dendu has done most of the heavy lifting with the library board, and actually I didn't learn about this through the library. I learned about it through the schools, and when I did learn about it, I immediately went to the library and explained that due to the fact that I'm on the school board and there could possibly be action that would have to be taken with respect to the disposition of the Hannah Lindell Children's Museum, that if that involved the library, I was not in a position to advise them or work with them in any way in connection with the library, with the acquisition, well, this topic in general, and that I need to be cut out of the information loop. And they've been very cooperative with that. They've neither requested nor received any advice from me in connection with this topic. I have also contacted the legal department of the Indiana School Board Association and presented the situation to them, and was advised by their attorneys that since the fee arrangement we have at the library is not something that's affected by this type of transaction, if it comes to be, that I don't have any sort of a financial conflict, and that I would be free to participate at the end of on the school board end of it. However, I'm not going to take that advice. What I plan to do is to, if we approve and set this special board meeting, at that meeting to file a conflicts statement and to refrain from participating in any discussion, any questioning, to not engage in any discussion with the board members, privately or publicly, or with anybody else in connection with this decision, because I don't want to have any sort of influence on the outcome here. So in terms of moving forward, that means that I do not anticipate voting. If it ended up in a position where there's an administrative requirement to break a tie, I might have to reconsider that, but my plan is to be completely silent and removed from this, except to be present at meetings to create a quorum and to run the meeting. So that being said, is there a motion to call a special meeting for this public workshop?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to call the special meeting. Is there any discussion on the motion?
And maybe this needs to be in discussion, was there any idea of what the intent was for the Mishawaka Penn Library, what they're going to do with the Lindell Museum? Are they opening up a little museum, or?
That's a good question. We met with some members of their board of directors and their director, along with Jan Phi and Lisa Garti from our advisory board, and they shared their ideas a little bit in that meeting. And then the purpose of the work session next week would be to hear from Jan Phi and Lisa regarding their work at the advisory board, and then to hear from Marcia Wells and Donna in regards to the Mishawaka Penn Harris, their library, their intentions for the museum. So we will hear from both groups next week, along with any other persons that might have a comment to make. So next week really would be for the purpose of you to collect information and ask questions, discussion.
Any other questions or discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, and I will abstain.
Aye.
Opposed? And I abstain, so let the record show that there are 4 ayes and 1 abstention. This takes us to item 9.02, approval of resolution number 2020-004 for the purchase of real property at 1052 to 1054 Lincoln Way East, Mishawaka, Indiana. Mr. Newman.
Thank you, Mr. Curry and members of the board. If the board recalls, as part of the Mishawaka High School Traffic Safety Plan, the administration is in need of one more piece of property. This piece of property is located at 1052, 1054 Lincoln Way East. Board Attorney Mike Triple has assisted the administration with the legal steps and process necessary to purchase this property. The funds to purchase this property were appropriated in the 2019 first mortgage bond sale, along with the other costs associated with the traffic safety plan. If approved, closing on this property is estimated to occur within the next 30 days. Mr. Strawn is correct. We are required by law to provide relocation assistance to the 2 tenants that live in that building. And statutorily, the maximum amount is $2,500 per tenant. And we've also enlisted the services of a relocation specialist to assist us with that process. So again, for board approval this evening is a resolution that would allow the administration to move forward with the purchase of real property at 1052, 1054 Lincoln Way East.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the recommendation for the acquisition. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Takes us to leadership and policy. Item 10.01, adoption of policies. Mrs. Pettit.
Good evening, everyone. On January 22nd, 2020, these policies before you were presented, and no vote was taken at that time. You've had the last few weeks to look them over, make sure that they are policies you want to adopt, and I am not going to be reading them again tonight, but I am asking that you approve them as presented.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the recommended policies as presented. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Into communications. Thank you, Ms. Pettit. It's a big job, and we really appreciate it. Item 11.01, public announcements. The public work session of the Board of School Trustees will be held on Monday, February 10, 2019 at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Administrative Center for receiving information from Jan Phi of SEA Results Advisors, the Hannah Linda Children's Museum Advisory Board, the Mishawaka Penn Harris Public Library Board of Trustees, and other possible interested patrons. All School City of Mishawaka schools, their offices, and the Administrative Center will be closed on Monday, February 17, 2020, in observance of President's Day. The next regular meeting of the Board of School Trustees will be held on February 26, 2020 at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Emmons Elementary School, 1306 South Main Street, Mishawaka, Indiana, 46544. Is there any further business to become before the board? If not, we are adjourned. Thank you all for attending.